Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Valérie Cormier-Der. I am a clinical geneticist heading the clinical genetics department in Necker Enfants Malades Hospital, but also a research team working on the molecular basis of skeletal dysplasia in Necker Enfants Malades Hospital and the Imagine Institute in Paris. So it's my pleasure to be here and to talk on Myers syndrome and our ongoing research focused on this rare disorder. So yesterday I have shown how clinical research and translational research is important and how network between clinician, researcher and patient association are crucial for the success of our research and to identify novel perspective in the treatment. So we have been able to identify the gene responsible for Myers syndrome a long time ago. And we have been able to demonstrate that SMAD4 is a gene responsible for Myers syndrome. We have identified a recurrent mutation in SMAD4. We have shown that this mutation is a gain of function mutation responsible for a decreased expression of downstream TGF-beta target gene in patient fibroblasts. So it was based on a collaboration of patients on DNA samples and on fibroblasts from patients. Now, to know more and to further understand the functional consequences of this mutation, there is a need for animal models, and this is the reason why we have decided to generate a mouse model, hoping to mimic the human disease and hoping to have access to organ and tissue samples to further understand the physiopathology of Myers syndrome and hoping to be able to develop preclinical trials. So this research on Myers syndrome is a part of a more larger research dedicated to acromenic dysplasia. We have been working for the last 10 years on this group of disorder, which includes 4 distinct entities: acromicric dysplasia, Geleophilic dysplasia, Weill-Marchesani syndrome, and Myers syndrome. They all have in common short stature, short hands and feet, and stiff joints. Myers syndrome is also characterized by deafness and some specific skeletal features, including a large pedicule of the vertebrae and thick skin with short hands. We have previously identified the molecular basis of all 4 disorders, showing that mutations in gene encoding protein of the extracellular matrix are responsible for Weill-Marchesani, Geleophilic dysplasia, and acromicric dysplasia, namely ADAMTS proteins and fibrillin 1. And all these proteins are a network playing a role in the extracellular matrix. And we have also identified SMAD4 as the disease-causing gene of Myers syndrome. We have been able to show that mutations in gene encoding protein of the extracellular matrix have also consequences on TGF-beta signaling pathway. And we have demonstrated an increased TGF-beta signaling pathway in all these disorders, including Myers syndrome. But what we need to understand is the consequences of the activation of TGF-beta signaling pathway on downstream target genes. And you have here, for example, the differentiation of osteoblasts from a mesenchymal stem. And we know that some genes targeted by TGF-beta signaling pathway are directly related to SMAD4, and we don't know what are the consequences of the mutation identified in SMAD4 on the differentiation, for example, of osteoblasts. So what are our questions today for these 4 entities? First, better understanding the natural history, and second, what are the consequences of our enhanced TGF beta signaling on signaling pathway on the extracellular matrix, and will it be possible to have novel ideas on the treatment and management of the patient with this rare disorder. So this is the reason why we have decided to generate appropriate human and mouse models. With the mouse model, we will be able to answer this question: what are the specific functional consequences on the structural integrity of the microfibrillar network and on the pertaining signaling pathway? And we will be able to perform omics approaches, meaning that we will be able to specifically study RNA and proteins in a mouse model mimicking mice syndrome. So this is quite important to be able to study different tissue and organs. And we will be able to target TGF-beta signaling pathway. This is what we have been doing in gelophilic dysplasia using patient fibroblasts. We know that there is increased TGF-beta signaling in gelophilic dysplasia. So we have tried to see the effect of antibody against TGF-beta in patient fibroblasts. You can see here that in gelophilic dysplasia, we have a disorganization of the extracellular, the microfibrillar network with antibody against TGF-beta. We have a restoration of the normal microfibrillar network. So this is a real hope to use antibody against TGF-beta. And with mouse model, we will be able to study the efficiency of antibody against TGF-beta. So this slide summarizes the mouse models that we have been generated. We have already studied a mouse model mimicking gelophilic dysplasia. We have already studied a mouse model mimicking acromicric dysplasia. And we are now studying a mouse model mimicking mice syndrome. For this mouse model, we have decided to introduce a missense mutation, which is recurrent in mice syndrome, the missense mutation changing the isoleucine at position 500. And this is what we called a knocking mouse model. So what we will be able to do with this mouse model, first, we will deeply phenotype this mouse model to know whether or not this mouse model mimic the human phenotype. Then we will have access to organ and tissue, and it will allow us to perform histological analysis and omics analysis. We will have access to blood and serum, and we will be able to look for biomarkers. And finally, we will be able to develop preclinical trial. So what do we know today? We have studied this is the first study of our knocking mouse model. You can see here at birth our knocking mouse model compared to a wild type animal, and you can see that the mouse model is really smaller compared to the wild type animal, and this is true for length and width, and this is true also for the skeleton. Here the knocking mouse model compared to the wild type animal. We have also observed at birth an increased lethality for the knocking mouse model, but we have also observed that the mouse who survive are not characterized by an increased lethality, and those who survive are doing quite well, and this is quite important to further study the outcome and the natural history of the disorder. We have shown also by specifically dissecting and performing a measurement of a mouse model at different times, at birth, but also at P4, at P10, that the knocking mouse model is smaller, and there is also a decrease in weight, as you can see here on those cartoons. So there is a significant decrease in weight and length. We have also specifically studied the skeleton and with a specific staining, And we have also observed that there is a decrease in the size of the femora. Here, the knocking mouse model compared to the wild type animal, a very significant decrease in size, but also a very significant decrease and delay in ossification. You can see here the knocking mouse model compared to the wild type animal with a significant delay in ossification here and here, allowing us to conclude that for the skeleton part, we observed a decrease in size, a decrease in long bone size, and a delay in ossification. So we are now studying heart and lung. We will perform histology and immunological study, and we are also collecting serum to further analyze the TGF-beta signaling pathway. So this slide summarizes what we have been doing, trying to answer the question, do the mouse model recapitulate the phenotype of the patient? This is the case for achromic angelophysic dysplasia, and this is the case for my syndrome for the skeletal phenotype. Now, we want to further answer this question. Are cardiorespiratory complications due to enhanced TGF-beta signaling pathway activations? So we have collected heart, lung, and serum at P0 at birth, P4, and P10. And we are now investigating whether there is tissue fibrosis by histology and immunohistochemistry. And we are also investigating whether there is enhanced activation of the TGF-beta signaling pathway. We are comparing the 3 mouse model, and we will then be able to test the efficiency of antibody against TGF-beta or other drugs targeting TGF-beta. So this is an ongoing work, and I hope that I will be able to come back in 1 year showing very important data targeting TGF-beta signaling pathway and trying to answer the physiopathologic basis of cardiorespiratory manifestation. So I would like to thank the team working with me, and especially Joanne Dubail, Alice Consentini, and Pauline Marzin, who are specifically working on my syndrome and on this disorder. And I would like to thank you for your attention, and I will be happy to answer questions. You can send me email if you wish. I will be very happy to answer questions. Thank you very much for your attention.